Well. What's going on, everybody? Welcome back to Let's Talk Live here on the LTL Media channel. It is Monday, August 26th, and we have a lot to get into this evening. It's like every time I feel like I'm going to pull away and do a couple things and maybe some maintenance on the channel, upgrade some things, something always happens. I can't get a day off. But it's good to be back here with everybody today. And obviously, we heard about the O'Keefe's filing a civil lawsuit against Karen Reed, and we're going to talk about that tonight. And of course, I could not do this alone. I have to have my buddy over here, and let me bring him in here. So Mazza Media is going to join me. If I can get the button here. Oh, I'm off my game tonight, Maz. I'm off my game tonight. Look at this. I got screens already shared, everything. I'm off my game. How are you?
Doing all right. Back to work today. So it's another Monday, and it's another wonderful day in the world of this saga that has many dimensions and many chapters, and just seems to never cease to amaze us. But I can definitely attest that I saw this one coming. Maybe not at this point in time in between trials, but I definitely saw it. The O'Keefes were definitely going to file a civil suit at some point. What their success rate is going to actually be on that is to be determined. But I think that they're just trying to do everything they can to stop Karen Reed and go after her once again. And I can imagine that this is going to be another failed attempt to try to stop Karen Reed and get something out of her. And I will give a shout out to Kelly Reed too in the chat.
Yeah, Kelly in the chat. It's good to see you.
Kelly's awesome. She's strong. The Reed family is strong. They continuously fight, and they're ready to go. And you have to really appreciate and adore that family, because they've just taken every step along the way. And it's Will Reed's birthday today as well. Happy birthday to Will Reed, Karen's father. Great guy. We've met him a few times, of course. He's a fantastic guy. And today he's 76 years old. Happy birthday, Will. And additionally, the Karen Reed Defense Fund is just in his honor today, a $7.60 donation. If you could send a happy birthday wish to him with a $7.60 donation to Karen Reed's Defense Fund, that would be absolutely fantastic if you could take a moment to do that. And wish Will a happy birthday. He's a great father, and he's been strong throughout all of this. And you have to absolutely appreciate the man, and we love him.
Yeah, the link there is at the top of the chat. And I saw earlier, like just within a few hours, Nathan Reed had reached out to Kelly and said they had raised, in the short amount of time, $5,000 for Karen Reed's Defense Fund within a short amount of time. So that's pretty cool. And like I said, everybody, if you could and you haven't already, click that link at the top. Let's get some money over there. All you got to do is $7.60, and that makes a huge world of a difference in Karen Reed's Defense Fund right now. And I want to make sure that everybody understands this. And even if the Reeds are watching tonight, I know Kelly's in the room, Karen, if you're watching, Will, and Nathan and co. If you are watching, I'm going to let you know we will not stop. We will continue to support you. We will continue to get out at the rallies. We will continue to do every fundraising activity that we can get involved in. I know Maz is right there behind you. All the other local YouTubers, and even the YouTubers that aren't here locally. And all the channels. Everybody knows the channels. I don't have to say them. I don't have to rattle them off. I think everybody's done an amazing job in their own specific way. I have your back here. I'm local. Maz is local. Turtle Boy, Mike from the Young Jerks. I know Tom, Mike, Boston Mike. All these locals that are in the area. And forgive me if I forgot anybody. But we're here to help, and we're not backing down. We will help you continue raise funds for Karen. So here we are, Maz. Like I said at the beginning of the show, I thought I'd take a little bit of time off. I had a live on Friday. I felt like it just didn't. I was gonna recharge the batteries and take some downtime. And then all of a sudden, here we are, Monday morning. The O'Keefe's file a civil suit. So
as soon as lunchtime hit, I watched WBZ at noon every day, Monday through Friday, pretty much. And sure enough, breaking news, here it is. And I'm like, well, here we go. And it wasn't much longer after that I got an inbox message from you, sir, and said, "You want to do a show tonight?"
Yeah.
You know me. Absolutely. See you at 8 o'clock, brother.
Yeah. So I thought we'd get on and talk a little bit about this. Again, I'm not a lawyer. Maz is not a lawyer. We'll just give us our old opinion here on the show. And I got a few notes up here on the screen, but let me pull up this article. We'll kind of rattle through it from Ted Daniel. He reported today. I know Turtle Boy was talking today, did kind of an impromptu live, which was great, and got his take on it. And it's nice to see him back. I know he was out on vacation for a well-deserved vacation for a little while, and was doing some posting. So it was nice to see him happy and get some rest. He's worked extremely hard and has been through a lot, over the last he's been over a year and a half, close to a year and a half now reporting on this. And it was funny. I was looking through some old videos that, of myself. And if you saw my little teaser that I threw up there, September 23rd, 2023 was my first official live and my first conversation about the Karen Read case. And I want to let everybody know what I'm doing right now is hopefully over the next month to compile kind of like a sizzle reel of everything that has gone on in the last year. And I'm hoping that I can have that together by the 23rd. So giving myself a month, release that, in a year, coming up, doing what I've been doing here, talking about this for the last year. And I thought that would be a nice tribute to what I've seen over the last year. So I'm really excited about it. But let's get into this article here. Ted Daniel reports today, O'Keefe family files wrongful death lawsuit against Karen Read in 2 Canton bars where the couple drank. So out of Plymouth, Massachusetts, the family of the deceased Boston police officer John O'Keefe has filed a wrongful death lawsuit against Karen Read in 2 Canton bars when she was seen drinking with O'Keefe before he was killed on January 29, 2022. Read, 44, of Mansfield, is accused of hitting John O'Keefe with her car and leaving him for dead outside the home of 34 Fairview. And a 22-page lawsuit is filed on behalf of John O'Keefe's brother, Paul, John O'Keefe II, and John's father, Margaret O'Keefe, John's mother, niece and nephew, who is raising at the Cantons' home for both of where their parents died. So it goes on to say, it names Karen Read, C.F. McCarthy's, and the Waterfall Bar and Grill as defendants. The suit does not state the dollar amount of the family is seeking. Instead, it demands cost, compensatory and punitive damages, lost value, next of kin, and any other relief this court deems appropriate. The suit comes 3 days after Judge Auntie Bev denies the motion to dismiss Read's second-degree murder charge in a criminal case to advance the second trial. Read's first trial ended in a mistrial on July 1st. The Norfolk District County's office accused, we've already know that. The lawsuit alleges Read outrageously created a false narrative. I like this one, Maz. And the O'Keefe family has suffered emotional injuries, physical pain, anguish, emotional distress, and other harm caused by the defendant Read's negligence. I want you to kind of, how do you feel about this statement, Maz?
I just have to read it myself just to actually hear myself say it. So if you don't mind, the lawsuit alleges Read outrageously created a false narrative, and the O'Keefe family has suffered emotional injuries and all of this. Well, at the end of the day, in a courtroom, someone like Karen Read can defend herself and make a claim in her own defense, however she'd like to make that claim. She does not need to. I mean, she outrageously created a false narrative. Let's say she did. It's not a crime. It's not a crime to say, hey, I didn't do it. There's many people that are innocent or guilty that have been in court before and have made a claim about something. So this is not something that's really against her right to say what her side of the story was. Additionally, she was there. She saw what happened. And she knows that she just left, never hit him. And Apple Health data confirms that basically John O'Keefe walked right towards the direction of 34 Fairview Road and additionally walked up 3 flights of stairs. Mm-hmm. So it's at this particular point in time, they can say whatever they want, but ultimately it's Karen's right to, they can call it a false narrative. It's their right to call it a false narrative too. If they want to say Karen Read's creating a false narrative, that's fine. If they want to say Karen Read's creating a narrative, that's fine. They can say whatever they want, just as much as Karen can say whatever her narrative was and whatever her side of the story was. So there's really nothing here to me that has any concrete information or anything you can say against Karen to say, well, whatever. if they don't like the fact that she believes she's innocent, well, she reserves the right to believe she's innocent if she does in fact believe that. And I just sit there and say, what are you suing her? Or what do why are you filing a civil lawsuit over this for when she's just, a false narrative? I mean, that's it's like the Big Lebowski. That's like your opinion, man.
Yeah, I mean, I look at this, and we'll talk a little bit more about this as we get into the show, but I feel like this is kind of, I don't know, is this the O'Keefe's kind of throwing the middle finger at everybody? I mean, look, they go through this big, huge criminal trial. The Commonwealth completely fails and does their job because of what they said that Karen Read did. Obviously, we know she didn't. We have the facts that prove that she didn't do it. You have the McAlberts that get up there and completely lie. They were supposed to be the linchpin in all this. This was the one. These were the nails in the coffin. We were going to throw every single person up that was there at 34 Fairview, turn this all around, make them lie for the Commonwealth, get the dirty cops involved, get them to lie. And guess what, Maz? None of it worked. Yeah. None of it worked. So is this the big middle finger to all of them? Like, hey, you didn't do your job, so now I threw you under the bus because you know what's going to happen.
Yeah.
They're going to get named in this lawsuit, this civil lawsuit. So you're going to see Jennifer McCabe get deposed. You're going to see Brian Higgins get deposed. You're going to see Colin Albert and co. They're all going to get deposed. But the thing that I think that, and if you know anything about civil lawsuits, and which I'm sure probably everybody watching does and knows and did some research on it, we're going to get a lot more discovery because you don't get that protection under the law in a criminal case. They can just go after pretty much anything and get it. And that's why I always laugh when Turtle Boy would be on his lives and after the trial ended, they said, I saw some people in the chat. They're like, hey, you're going to take down the stuff that you said about Jen McCabe? He's like, no. He's like, please sue me. Because he knows he's going to get all the answers that he wants.
Right. That's exactly right. And that's why he hasn't had any fear of, he's encouraged that, go ahead and sue me, please sue me. Go ahead. Because he knows that, I almost knocked my microphone over here. I was doing the hand gestures. But that's exactly right, because he's not afraid, because he knows in a civil lawsuit, this information, there's a lot less protections. There's a lot more stuff that can be talked about here. And like I said, I don't know. Like I said, the O'Keefe's, I don't know what their plan is right now, but they're, as it pertains to the alliance or siding with the McAlberts, but I don't know what's happening there. But at the same time, this seems like it's definitely as obviously it's an O'Keefe standalone attempt here to pursue what they believe, which is they believe Karen committed this, and they're certain of that. They're not going to waver on that. They are not going to change their mind on that. But I don't think that there's much here on Karen to make any case whatsoever that she committed this. There's virtually almost no evidence, and any evidence that there is practically or almost in all accounts been fabricated evidence, such as taillight and broken taillight. No one's ever heard of taillight running, someone getting run into by a vehicle in reverse, and then their arms looking like it's got dog bites and claw marks all over the thing. It's absolutely insane. So, I mean, if they do want to file a civil suit, they have the right to do it, but I don't know how much they're going to gain out of this, because there's more, the evidence is in Karen's favor. It has been. We've already seen a trial where counts 1 and counts 3 were not guilty, and the judge basically threw it under the rug. So I don't think there's much for them to gain here. They're free to try. But at the end of the day, Karen's going to walk out in the winning end, because the facts are on her side. The side of good is on her side. And there's nothing here. There's nothing incriminating against her. And they keep trying to talk about this intoxication level, which was not properly measured. They ran a blood alcohol test level on her, reading on her hours after the fact, and estimated it back to what it may have been at the time. So it's just absolutely more stuff that's unfounded. There's no way to absolutely say, hey, Karen absolutely did this. And additionally, another thing about this civil lawsuit is it's coming off a trial where the Commonwealth failed to basically stick anything on Karen whatsoever. They weren't able to say, well, you're guilty on 1, 2, and 3. Yeah. They weren't even able to say you were guilty on count 2 in that particular trial. So that's not very favorable as well. So this is a set of circumstances where, once again, it's not even Karen backed up against the wall anymore. It's essentially basically another shot across the bow, where it's okay, well, we're coming after Karen. And again, the facts are on her side. She's factually innocent. And no matter what anybody online that wears a blue shirt will tell you, Karen Reed's factually innocent, and there's nothing you can say or do to counter that, because I'm sorry, you're absolutely wrong. If you look at John's arm and you think that taillight caused that, you know nothing absolutely at all. Taillight does not do that to somebody's arm. And even if it did, was able to shatter, it wouldn't have had puncture wounds that deep, which were not too deep, but deep enough that basically a dog would have been responsible. So it's just this is just another thing where I think it's a total waste of time. And I just think that Karen's just being dragged through all this once again, which is a little bit unfair to her. But once again, they can try to go after her as much as they'd like. That's not going to rattle anybody that's a Karen Reed supporter, because we're going to be here for her. We've been here before. We've been here before. We've been here during, and we're going to be here long after this this first trial. We're going to continue to stand with her, like you said earlier at the top of the show, Brian. And we ain't got no quit. And I got my tagline in there, so I give it back to you, brother.
I just want to read off a couple of chats that came in. So $10 from Martha. She says, "Free Karen Reed. Thank you so much." And then Trevor, $4.99 says, "Apparently the statute of limitations on wrongful death is 3 years. So they had to file, I guess. I guess it's a last resort for them." And that's what I mean, essentially the conclusion that I came to when we were talking about this before we went on air. I said, look, the Commonwealth is never, ever, 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 and you can throw a million evers in there, ever going to convict Karen Reed of anything. I think the second time around, she will be acquitted. And let's just say she goes back into a mistrial. They're never going to convict. They're never going to find a jury to convict Karen Reed. So I think essentially what is going on now, knowing that she's gearing up for a second trial, knowing that she, is essentially exhausting all her resources, and knowing that the Free Karen Reed movement is supporting her. So what do we need to do? Well, let's cut into her resources. Let's drag her through the mud. Let's put her in this financial peril. We'll continue to beat her down. But the cycle is not going to stop. That wheel is going to keep going. And that's what I was saying at the top of the show as well, too. Like, you have my commitment. I ain't going anywhere. So if I can raise whatever little money I can and throw that, in the bucket and keep giving her some money to help fight this, I'm here. I'm here for the long haul. It was funny. I had a comment today. Someone on the channel said, I really like your channel, but you do too much similar content. And I'm like, do you know where I've been where have you been for the last year? Like, I'm in it. I'm in it until completion, until Karen Reed walks out of that courtroom a free woman and can go on with her life and be done with all of this bullshit that she's literally been through for the last couple of years. But that's what I think. I think it's let's beat her down. Let's start to try to scare some people. Maybe this pushes some of the people away and push them back. And a civil suit. Who else are we going to go after? I think it's some of that stuff going on too. What do you think, Maz?
Yeah, that's for sure. I mean, that's absolutely the case. I mean, I had so many people tell me I was going to get sued last winter. It was ridiculous. Oh, we're coming from you, and you're going to get a defamation suit and all that stuff. And well, I have talked to a few attorneys with expert opinions, and they've assured me that I have done nothing of the sort. So they're welcome to try. Yeah. But I've had those discussions as well. So that's that. They're going to continue to try the scare tactics. I mean, the trolls have been trying that or the opposition, I should call them, been trying to do that for quite a long time, especially the last winter. They wanted everybody to be scared when Turtle Boy was hauled off in cuffs. Well, you're next. Mike and the Young Jerks is next, and the Glare is next, and Brian's next, and all these other people are next, and you all better back down. You all better run away and hide. And then we didn't. And now it's 8 months later, and I don't think anybody's actually been slapped with anything yet. So this is, getting back to the civil lawsuit, transition back to that. This is, at this particular point, me and you were talking on the pre-show about the timing of all of this. Is this something that I truly believe that if the trial had ended, no matter how it ended, at least with a definitive ending, meaning a not guilty or a guilty on all three of those counts, which we did not get, I believe that this civil suit would have taken place. I definitely believe the O'Keefe family was going to pursue this all along. I don't think that shocks anybody.
Yeah.
What's interesting to me is that why did they not, maybe say, well, why don't we wait till the second trial? And it could be a matter of just patience. Maybe they had mentally focused on basically saying, we're going to wait till after the trial, and then no matter what, we're going through with it. Or, at this particular time, maybe they're just running out of patience and saying, well, we're not going to wait through another trial. We're going to start to pursue her now. Nonetheless, the financial aspect of Karen Reed and what she needs to defend herself is basically being essentially contested here, where it's now another trial. She's already paid for attorney. Obviously she's hired attorneys for the first trial, which was the only trial that was expected to be, was that particular trial, and all the funds that we raised for her. And now, it's like, okay, well, she's already paid her legal fees for one trial. Now all of a sudden it's, here comes another trial, and there's almost no end in sight. We just saw recently what Auntie Bev set out to do, which is counts 1 and counts 3 are not going away. They're staying right here going into the next trial. And if we think that, she's going to shut this thing down before it hits another trial, no, this thing's going to repeat itself. It's been the same thing out of that judge over and over and over again. We talk about we ain't got no quit. Well, Auntie Bev's got no quit either, because she wants to let this thing go as long as it takes. She doesn't care how many cases, how many trials this thing goes, how many days, how many jurors she needs to go through. This woman's all in, and she's not going to back down either. So in this particular case, now Karen Reed's placed in a situation where basically she's got to double her defense fund fees, where she's already paid for one trial. Now she's going to pay for a second one. And this is the importance of why we need to continue to spread the word of Free Karen Reed. This is why it's important to do these standouts that we're doing, because a lot of us have given a lot of money. And with the second trial coming up, it's a lot more money for us to give ourselves. So it pays to continue to spread the word and do standouts and bring people in, like we did since the beginning. But it pays to continuously do that, because obviously this thing's going to go on and on and on. And it brings in more people that can help get that message of Karen Reed's innocence and also contribute money. And it gets back to the point of now the civil lawsuit. So now you got the civil lawsuit in here. So now she's going to deal with a second trial, all the hearings that lead up to it, and now a civil lawsuit, which is now on the table. Start date, who knows? But now basically they're hitting her on two separate fronts right now. And really going after her.
Well, it's to beat her down. It's to beat her down.
Right.
Let me just get to a couple of these really quick and get these out of the way. Caveman, thank you so much for the $10. Says happy birthday, Amar Reed. Yes, thank you so much. And we have Melissa became a new member. Thank you so much. Grant's Pants chiming in with a $2. Says you can sue a ham sandwich. You're right. You can sue a ham sandwich.
How dare you?
Yeah. And I just want to do this. If you all are just coming in right now, there is a link that is posted to the top of the chat, and that is right to Karen Reed's Defense Fund. If you could do this, please, if you could do this tonight, if you can make a $7.60 donation, and that will make a world of difference in Karen Reed's Defense Fund tonight, and that is to celebrate her father, Will's birthday tonight, and you can wish him happy birthday on the post. They will say that, and I said earlier today, within a few hours, I think they raised like $5,000, which was pretty phenomenal. I think Kelly Reed came on within like 2 or 3 hours and said, Nathan has reached out and said that, they already have $5,000 in, which was fantastic. Dude, did you see the donation a couple of weeks, like 2 weeks ago? Someone raised a $10,000 donation. That's so awesome.
Yeah.
That's so great.
That was awesome.
Yeah, it was really good. Let's see here. Heather, thank you so much for the $25. Who said, thank you for all that you do. And I'm squinting and all my glasses on. Do you know if Paul O'Keefe was sued civilly after his DUI incident? I don't think so, but I do know that Karen Reed bailed him out.
Yeah, that's a factual story that happened.
So thank you. Yeah. So, I find, I don't, it doesn't surprise me. I wasn't surprised when I heard about it. I think like you, I think something like this was going to come, but I just think it's bad. I think it was bad planning, bad timing going into if we go into a second trial, because it's just going to literally expose everybody that was witnesses for the Commonwealth. You're going to get so much more information now. You're going to hear more about the relationships. You're probably going to get more phone data. You're probably going to, get pretty much anything that you want civilly. And if they want to go through that, like I said, and I was asking this earlier, Matt, do you think this is kind of like a big FU to the McAlberts? How do you feel about this?
That's very much in play at this particular point. They could be tired of this. I mean, we've seen this happen before in life. I mean, whether it's in a high school where people form alliances against other people they don't like in the hallway, or corporate worlds where other companies band together against another company and merge, or other wars where countries align themselves in a battle against other countries. And then at some point, a lot of those things are always meant to break up at some point. And, really the O'Keefes are a merged entity with the McAlberts. They are not, the O'Keefes are themselves, the Reeds are themselves, the McAlberts are themselves. There's really three different groups here, and basically the O'Keefes and the McAlberts have formed an alliance, and those alliances can break, especially when you have a family that, I mean, because at the end of the day, they're the family with loss. They may have an opinion of who did it that we disagree with, but at the end of the day, they are the family of loss. And at this particular point, they if they want to separate that merger and go on their own and do what they want to do, that's their choice. But ultimately, it doesn't look too good for the McAlberts, like you said, because if they are dragged into this, which they will be, that's a bad situation for them now, because it doesn't look like Auntie Bev is going to be there to put a lot of regulations on certain things, like third-party culprit, for example, which was asked by the defense to be a part of that trial and was shot down. So now all of a sudden, if you're in a civil lawsuit, you have a chance to basically bring those same players up that are all potential suspects and really start to go a little bit more deeply into questioning them and introducing certain things, as well as probably a lot less objections and sustained objections. So that's a lot in play here, but it's not a good, I'll tell you this right now. This is probably worse for the McAlberts than it is for Karen.
Because I think so too.
Yeah. Karen
I completely agree. Yeah.
Karen and the defense team will be able to brush this off, I think, with relative to little ease. I think that mostly some of their complaints here are accusations, but then, you're going to bring in the CF McCarthy's and Waterfall into this now, which are now probably going to come off the sidelines.
They are.
They're upset.
Think they are?
Oh, they're upset. Yeah, they're upset.
I mean, now they're dragged into this.
Right now they're on Karen's side. Now it's like, well, you guys are all sitting in the same seat here, and you have people coming after you saying, well, you overserved this particular woman. I got an interesting, I was digging through my PDF I created way back when. This was, I'm just going to read this verbatim here. So the following appeared in a Boston.com article by Abby Patkin titled, quote, "Unpacking the Murder Case Against Karen Reed as Told by Prosecutors on February 28, 2024. This is the excerpt. A witness who left the bar around the same time as the couple, that's Karen and John, described Karen Reed as fine and did not believe Reed to be overly intoxicated. That's a big thing. Now, by authorities' counts, they allege that she consumed no less than 7 drinks in a matter of hours. But yet here you have, according to a Boston.com article entitled Unpacking the Murder Case Against Karen Reed, you see that basically you have a witness who says that she left that bar. It did not appear to be intoxicated, which goes back to me and many others who have asked, show us, not only show, it's one thing, it's one thing, I can make an evidence collection cup joke out of this, but it's one thing to say, okay, I bought 7 of these tonight, but did I drink the whole glass? Did I finish the whole, cup of alcohol, whatever it was there? You look at this and you can say, well, okay, did she buy 7 drinks? Did she consume all 7? If she bought all 7 for herself, did she consume all 7 fully? Outside of that, did anybody else that she bought those drinks consume those particular drinks? So that's all up for debate. And for me, I was arguing this recently myself. I didn't see enough footage during that trial to truly stand out and tell me that Karen Reed was drunk beyond, the ability to walk through a parking lot when you have a witness who says she looked like she was fine, but yet at no time, if she had apparently been more intoxicated than anybody else. This is a point I just thought of in the past couple of weeks, and I've been trying to say it as much as possible because I honestly want everybody to start saying this. I want everybody that's following this show to start making this point as much as possible now.
Now it's fired up tonight, guys.
If Karen Reed was as drunk as she was, then why did John O'Keefe not say, give me the keys, I'm going to drive you home to my place, then I'm going to head over to 34 Fairview? So if she was that drunk and whatever, then why didn't John O'Keefe say, you're not driving.
Hey, take an Uber. I'm going to call you an Uber.
Or taking an Uber.
Yeah.
That never happens. And I think that point is something that we need to start bringing up every single time they talk about her intoxication level.
Well, and even everybody there that testified, they even said, no, it didn't look like she was fine. You go back to you go back to Paul O'Keefe when he was on the stand. He said, oh, no. Karen was nothing out of the ordinary. Right. She always treated John well. The family was so. I don't get this. This is just like a last ditch effort, to try to bury her. Because, like I said, they're never going to convict her in a criminal court ever. Right. It's never going to happen.
Right.
It's never going to happen. Exactly. Let me just get this.
Sure.
Go ahead.
Oh, yeah,
Let me
sure.
get to this really quick.
Yeah, go ahead.
Sidebar and Grill, thank you so much for the 5 gifted memberships. I appreciate that. Yeah, I think Clyde's ductwork is a little worked up tonight.
Yeah, Clyde Ducksworth. That's my guy right there. He's awesome. They think he's me apparently, which is crazy. I mean, it's not like I made a call posing as Clyde Ducksworth on the show or not a week ago. What is anybody talking about? But yeah, you look at everything, and I had it just hit me the other day. I'm like, well, if she was this drunk walking out of the bar, then why didn't John just say, "Give me the keys"?
Yeah.
And I had never really heard that point until I thought about it. And that's why I want everybody to start saying that. You can take credit for it. I don't care. Just start getting that point out there. And not only that, why didn't anybody else say anything? Anybody that's ever been to a bar, a house party, or a college party or a bar or whatever, right? And say you're at a college party, but you're from another college campus. When you're driving out of there, there's always a designated driver, right? There's always, 3 or 4 or 5, 6 friends in a vehicle, and there's always that designated driver, right? Because most of your friends that night are going to get pretty drunk, and somebody's going to need to be the reliable person. In this particular case, they're trying to sell Karen's alcohol level high. They're trying to say this lady who only weighs so much. She is not like me. She is not 6'5". She is not like you. She is not as big as most people, right? She is not someone that I think can throw down that many drinks and walk out of a bar and drive home with relative to little ease. If she had actually drinking that much, it's going to be like Leonardo DiCaprio when he's on drugs driving in Wolf of Wall Street, where he's smashing places all over the place and crawling in the front of the house.
20-year-old Quaaludes or something.
Yeah, it's going to be insanity. And I don't imagine John O'Keefe's going to sit there. And I would be willing to bet that John O'Keefe, being bigger, could probably handle more alcohol more. I can't imagine him walking out the door saying, yeah, she's plastered out of her mind. I mean, she can't even walk a line straight. But yeah, you know what? Yeah, just drive me home. There's no chance that happens. Right. He would say, give me the keys or whatever. I'll drive you back, and then I'll head over to 34 Fairview myself. He's not hopping in that car. And that's a point that needs to be made over and over and over again. And even when she did drive, because they said, they confirmed she did drive him back from the waterfall to 34 Fairview, and then she drove the 1 Meadow Lane. But yet at no point do you hear any reports about a vehicle crashing into buildings, crashing into telephone poles, mailboxes, bench on the side of the road, anything like that. There's no reports of any of that. There's no damage to the vehicle from the front, which would have suggested that she did crash anything. Nobody reported rear view mirrors missing that night. None of that. Yeah. Absolutely none of that. This thing was so clean that it makes sense that Karen was okay. She had a few to drink, fine, but she was obviously sober enough to drive successfully, because John had no concern about, hey, give me the keys, and there were no road incidences during her drive, except for the one that the Commonwealth alleges happened.
And as we saw at the very end of that night inside the waterfall, John was really just kind of standing and observing. So I would think, as a police officer, being observant, looking at the room, looking at the people in the room, I'm pretty sure that it would be very in tune with Karen that night. And to your credit, Maz, if she did seem intoxicated, like she couldn't drive, he'd probably say, hey, I got this one. Yeah. So I agree. I agree. So I need everybody to do me a huge favor right now. I just looked down. We only have 375 likes. There's over 1,000 people in here. It's free to smash the like button. I'd love for you to smash the like button so we can get to at least 1,000 likes, because that algorithm loves that action. We can get this video out, and people can start really hearing the truth about this case. So if you could take 2 seconds, less than 2 seconds, like 2 nanoseconds, smash the like button, I really would appreciate it. I want to go back to the article, Maz. I want to pull that back up, and I want to look at the actual filing, because I wanted to go down to line 32. And it's funny that we were just talking about intoxication level. So let me go to line 32. And I thought this was kind of interesting. So it says here, I don't know if you can see it. Okay. So it says here, after JJ got out of the defendant Reed's vehicle in front of 34 Fairview on January 29th, 2022, Reed drove her SUV and hit JJ. Well, this is kind of funny that they're saying that. Report today, not too long ago, just a few hours ago, Turtle Boy Aiden Carney reported that Trooper Paul may not be returning for the Commonwealth in the second trial, that they are going to shop around and essentially try to find an expert and pay this expert to come up and lie for the Commonwealth and deceive everybody in this trial, because Trooper Paul could not get the job done because the guy's not qualified. He's not a crash expert, okay? But I find this funny because they're claiming here in the civil lawsuit that there was an accident. Trooper Paul, their guy, Maz, their guy got up there, didn't prove a fucking accident, and then we had ARCA at the end that essentially crushed Trooper Paul's testimony and made him look like a bigger ass than he really was during the trial. And I find it funny now inside this, line 32, they're saying that Karen hit John with her SUV. What do you think about all this? Trooper Paul not coming back.
Oh, geez. Well, I think someone said it best today. They go, whether or not the Commonwealth wants to call him back is one thing, but additionally, Nick Rocco just wants me to check my email. Sorry.
Hey, yeah.
Yeah. Additionally,
hey, Nick,
the defense is probably going to end up calling him to whatever. I'll let you take over just one second. I just want to read this.
Yeah. So I'll read through a little bit of this here. So it goes on. It says at all relevant times, this is line 33, at all relevant times on January 29, 2022, defendant Reed drove her SUV in the state of intoxication. Well, they never proved that. As a result of Reed's SUV hitting JJ on January 29, 22, JJ was knocked down onto the ground in front of 34 Fairview, suffering serious injuries and died. How do you know that? How do they know that?
Yeah.
How can they prove that? They didn't prove it during the criminal trial. Where's the evidence that proves that? After hitting JJ with her SUV, defendant Reed fled the scene and returned to JJ's residence at One Meadows Ave. At all relevant times, defendant Reed knew that it was snowing, knew there was an impending blizzard, and knew or should have known that leaving JJ outside in the blizzard would likely result in serious injury or death. This lawsuit's crazy. I think it's funny. At the relevant time when defendant Reed drove her SUV and hit JJ, defendant Reed failed to use any care to avoid creating unreasonable risk and harm. How about this? How about you go after the fucking people that live inside? We're at 34 Fairview. How about that?
Right.
How about going after Brian Albert, knowing that John O'Keefe was on that front lawn, didn't even come out when paramedics arrived and emergency first responders I'll get this out. Arrived on scene. I'm pissed about this, Maz. How about suing them? How about saying, hey, you didn't even come out to check on my brother? I've never even heard a question of that, Maz.
Why not sue the CPD? Just a quick timeout. So Nick sent me the full PDF of this whole thing. I just forwarded it over to yours. You can go down to go down to the bottom of the email. There should be a PDF attachment in there.
Got it.
And you can go run the whole thing. Yeah. Thanks, Nick, for that. By the way, appreciate it.
Yeah.
Earlier, I grabbed some snapshots of it, but
what I do?
Grabbed it.
Got it. Let's take a look. Let's see. I just want to pull this up really quick. Jody says, exactly, Brian. Why isn't Paul suing the Alberts? I mean, really? I mean, he's outside at the house. You knew he was there. First responders show up. You don't come out of your house. I'm sorry, Maz. Sorry, brother. Like, I would probably question and go, if I was Paul, I would have a hard conversation with Brian Albert and go, why didn't you fucking come out of the house? What's wrong with you?
Right, sure.
Why didn't you come out and check on my brother? You knew he was out there. This first responded. Oh, you didn't hear anything. You didn't hear anything until Jennifer McCabe ran upstairs, and we don't know what Chloe was to alert anybody, and that's when you found out. Oh, okay. Yeah, we're going to go.
If I was sitting in their position, I'd want answers out of everybody. That includes Karen, of course, and everybody to say, what happened here? What's going on here? Especially the Canton Police Department. If, for example, they made a lot of claims. Fire departments, EMTs made a lot of claims. You have evidence that wasn't properly stored here. I mean, if my family member or even friend or anyone was ever in a situation where they lost their life, and this research of their crime scene investigation was like this, where it was so unable to be well secured, I would be furious about this, and I would be absolutely asking questions of the CPD and homeowners and neighbors as well. Why didn't the Canton Police Department ask for ring footage from not only the people that live nearby, but a couple houses down the street?
That would settle the case. And I said this in the very beginning of the trial. If if this happened, and I think it's so convenient, and I fucking say this to all the people, and I know I'm swearing tonight, I'm worked up tonight. I say this to all the people out there that question, that literally message vile messages to me. I got one person that literally was a friend of mine. Now we're not friends at all. Continues. I don't know why. You are obsessed with me. You message me all the time. You are obsessed with me. But messaging me all the time and said, can you answer this? Can you answer this? No, can you fucking answer this? Can you answer this? If you wanted to nail Karen Reed down, then why did no camera on that street conveniently not work that night? Conveniently not work. Because you know why? Because if they fucking had the footage and the footage was available, you'd see them dragging a dead body out and leaving on the front lawn, John O'Keefe on the front lawn, to die out there in the cold. That's why. Answer me that. Answer me that. I'm tired of it. This guy messages me all the time. Can you answer this? Can you answer this? Can you answer? No, you answer this. Why is there no video? Why is there no video? No one's camera that night worked at all. Didn't work. Oh, it didn't work. Didn't know. Oh, there was a problem with it. Didn't work. Oh, okay. Yeah, sorry. I don't know. I'm worked up tonight.
That's all right. Hey, these rants need to happen, quite frankly. So good for you, brother. And additionally, why did the Kent Police Department go a couple of houses down and ask certain neighbors who had ring footage of anything that they had, even houses that would have picked up her taillight on the way out? There's none of that at all.
It's gone. It's erased.
Aiden and one of his colleagues knocked on a couple doors, and they knocked on this guy's door and talked to him through his doorbell, ring camera, whatever.
Wouldn't come out.
And the guy goes, no, nobody from the Canton Police Department ever knocked on my door asking me for any footage that I had that night. Aiden goes, no further questions. It's absolutely insane. And that's the big picture. The biggest problem with this whole thing is what's missing. Why is there library footage missing? Why is that gone?
Why is the taillight video inverted? And there's literally apparitions that are, jump in time. I feel like I'm watching Doctor Who. I feel like I'm watching Bill and Ted's Excellent Adventure, and they're gonna jump inside the phone booth and fucking warp over to the next. Yeah, it's crazy. It's crazy.
Insane. It's insane. And these are all obvious things. Anybody with any kind of logical mind or assessment of this particular case can look at certain things, and there's obvious holes that stand out to you. Why is there no footage of the taillight from any of the houses, right? There's none of that. The library camera, the only camera footage that we legitimately got was outside of John O'Keefe's home in One Meadow Lane, where Karen Reed backs into the vehicle, and there's a crack clearly caused by that, but the taillight is intact at that particular time. When the vehicle is towed away in Dighton during the snowstorm, and they put the vehicle on the back of the flatbed and they're towing it up, not only is that taillight intact, the taillight is lit up on the far right side. It's absolutely perfectly fine. And you can't sit there and tell me or anybody else that taillight was shattered at any point from the time she left One Meadow Lane to the time that vehicle was picked up in Dighton. But yet, magically, at a certain particular time and place, all of a sudden there's this taillight all over the place, like someone's throwing Lucky Charms all over the place, like it's one of those commercials, it's just throw the Lucky Charms all over the place and sprinkle taillight everywhere, here and there, like they're throwing magic dust around.
Like,
I mean, it's absolutely,
what is it? Dave Chappelle, just sprinkle some crack on them. Sprinkle crack.
right. I remember that. Yeah.
Yeah, it's like the taillight, and then the taillight whisperer came along and found all the pieces, and the crime scene spoke to Trooper Paul. It was a crime. Spoke to me. Yeah. But no, seriously, I keep going back to this. I always constantly get challenged. These people that think that I'm nuts. I'm like, no, you're nuts, and they're like, oh, well, can you explain this? Can you explain that? No, let me explain one thing. This trial would have been over in one sentence. The Commonwealth could have got up there, had a TV right there where it was the whole time, and said, Karen Reed hit and killed John O'Keefe. Plays the video. Trial over. But no camera worked that night. No camera here. No camera across the street. No camera there. No one's camera worked. So, yeah, because we know why. Yeah. The video footage was erased.
And then the Sally port, to get the Sally port, and hey, occasionally, footage just happens to go missing during specific periods of the. I mean, these things just happen every.
48 minutes, 52 minutes.
Well, you know how security cameras work. There's always like a couple of minutes every hour where it just magically disappears during, very complex times. It just always happens to happen right at that exact perfect moment. Here it is. And oh yeah, every night at the Sally Port, that that camera's been doing that since 1982. Geez, and then it gets back to the point. Why did the Massachusetts State Police take over? Let me ask you this question.
Yeah.
Imagine if the FBI had shown up to that scene. So let's say it was the Canton Police Department, then the Massachusetts State
Maybe
Police.
it should have.
And then the FBI comes in. Let's say the FBI, like in Die Hard, the FBI took over for the LAPD in that movie, right? Okay, so imagine the FBI takes over in this situation. Do you think that the FBI would have taken the vehicle to the Massachusetts State Police barracks, or do you think they would have taken that vehicle back to an FBI location where they could properly do it on their own terms? Yet in this particular case, a Canton Police Department investigation, which evolves into a Massachusetts State Police investigation, now results in them going down to Dighton, towing the vehicle, taking it past a handful of Massachusetts State Police locations, because according to Trooper Paul, we just didn't have the facility that we needed. And then all of a sudden they bring it up to the Canton PD, which is home base for the cover-up, where they know that nobody in the Massachusetts State Police, so they brought it back to the Massachusetts State Police, because that's the thing about this, is I think we need to remember that the Massachusetts State Police were involved in this cover-up, but the Massachusetts State Police were not involved in this cover-up. It was members of the Massachusetts State Police that were obviously had their hand in this, and they decided to take it back to home base of the cover-up, which is basically Dealey Plaza, which is the Sally Port, and go there in Canton, where they knew people had a vested interest, because they couldn't take it over to the state police, because they would have been other cops there and other cameras there that they couldn't finagle, that would have said, dude, what the hell are you doing with this vehicle right now? Why are you shattering taillight? What is going on? And they would have been internally investigated a lot sooner than now.
And that's not protocol, because you know who said that? Todd McGee, sitting right there in that chair. He said that Karen Reed's vehicle should have went back to a state police facility to be processed.
Yeah.
And isn't it convenient, Maz? Isn't it convenient? Karen Reed's vehicle gets towed back to the Canton PD and sits there for almost 3 days. 3 days. And what interviews do they have within those 3 days? Who interviewed Jennifer McCabe? Who interviewed Kerry Roberts within those 3 days? Proctor. And then it's funny, right after that, they start processing the vehicle.
Yep.
I don't know. Time is a little weird on that one.
Right. Which ties up our whole point here, is that people are trying to say, there's people out there that actually believe that Karen Reed did that, but yet we've been able to talk about all this stuff, with which most of it has been factual. The other portions of it have apparently been speculation on our part, because we're speculating particular people's involvement and what they may or may not have done. But at that particular rate, when we look at everything here, it all circles back to one thing, is that this whole case is very suspicious, and it raises questions. And you look at the amount of people that have tuned into this show, other shows, that are reading articles and going on YouTube shows and watching YouTube shows about this. Nick Rocco is going to Court TV, where viewers are going to be there watching him.
Yeah.
That's because there is a question here where people like Brian, people like myself, people like every single person that's watching this show, and every single person that supports Karen Reed that's not watching the show, has sat there and said, you know what? I'm not buying this. There's something suspicious here. I told this before. I tried to tell my own sister about this months ago during the holidays. I'm like, you're not going to believe this. And she's like, oh, I'm going to have to look into it. And eventually during the trial, she's like, I can't believe what they did to Karen. This is absolutely outrageous, and I can't stand what they've done to her. And, she started following the case for what, a couple days?
Yeah.
And hadn't read necessarily many articles on it. And already she's like putting two to two together. I'm like, there you go. Anybody that has logical thinking and can sit there and look at this stuff. If you're not sitting here asking questions, like if you literally believe that taillight can cause those kind of wounds, and if you literally believe that camera footage in the neighborhood just happens to not be available, if you happen to believe that a person that's laying dead on the body happened to get hit by a moving vehicle driving in reverse 60 feet at 24 miles an hour, and it makes him pirouette and causes a laceration to the back of his head and all this stuff. I don't know what reality that you're living in.
Yeah.
It's insanity.
Yeah. Let's do this. I know everybody in the chat is talking about the new microdots video. We can watch that. Let's just opine on this a couple more minutes. I just want to answer a couple of these super chats real quick, and then we'll get to the microdots video. Thank you for letting us know, and we will talk about that. Caveman, $2 says, Maz, you've been talking to Sean. You're all fired up. You're all fired up. Britta says that I'm 5'6", 130. In my heyday, I couldn't drive on 7 drinks. And thank you so much, Britta, for being a 2-month member. I appreciate that. It helps keep the lights on here in the studio. Caveman, again, with a $5, says the crime scene spoke to me. Idiotic comments. So talking about Trooper Paul. Jody becoming a new member. Thank you so much for becoming a new member. Caveman, again, $5 says, I watch all of the podcasts. Thank you. I appreciate that. I know Mazza appreciates that. If you're not subscribed to Maz Media, you need to go over Mazza Media on YouTube. Check him out. And, so again, listen, this is a scare tactic. It's a stall tactic. It's to deplete Karen's resources. We're not going to stop. She's not going to stop. We're going to continue to do what we can to raise money, put the fundraisers together, and just keep putting money in that bucket and help her out. I know I'm committed. I'm here, and I'm here till the end. I'm not going anywhere. Yeah. I know you're not. I know you're not.
Deep in this thing. I remember at one point they're like, well, you better walk back now before people come after you. And I said, well, it's already too late for that now.
Yeah, it's already too late for that. All right, you want to watch the new microdots video? Let's do it. I'm sure microdots won't mind. Okay, this one is called Bev Has Your Back, Lies and Corruption in the Karen Reed pretrial.
Long one here, 37 minutes. I put a lot of work into this one. I always put a lot of work into it, but
let's watch it. I just hope that the music is their music, because last time I got whacked.
Yeah, so he uses a lot of copyrighted music.
Yeah.
So
probably gonna get whacked, but that's okay.
Oh yeah.
That's contrasted, Your Honor, against the court regularly, apparently, ruling on motions that directly benefit the Commonwealth. Like when the court immediately ruled from the bench and granted 2 motions to quash subpoenas that favored Brian Albert and Jennifer McKay. For those records, there was no delay. For that request, or series of requests.
Hold on a second.
Please turn off your audio.
Thank you, Shelby.
Go ahead, Mr. Jackson.
Best laid plans.
If you started paying attention to the Karen Reed case when the trial began, let me catch you up. The defense endured nearly 2 years of inexplicable delays and were prevented from examining crucial physical evidence by the Commonwealth. This was coupled with the court's refusal to assign deadlines, a set of circumstances once purportedly described by Karen Reed as a game of hide the football.
As a rear back.
For the request that I just mentioned about the quashal motions, there was no delay by this court. The court made the rulings from the bench, and that made the public, in public commentary, question the court's motives. In fact, the court has unilaterally sought to even advance certain motions that the Commonwealth has presented. May I?
Try again.
If this seems more like a circus to you than a court of law, you are not alone. Judge Cannoni's courtroom has been the center of controversy before. In fact, only 10 days prior, this happened.
Your service is complete. I'm declaring a mistrial.
Must be a catchphrase.
The job is left unfinished. It leaves a really bad taste in your mouth, really bad feeling.
2 days after the murder trial of Weymouth Sergeant Michael Chesna and 77-year-old Vera Adams was declared a mistrial, we're hearing from Cindy Lavoie, who was the foreperson of that jury that could not reach a unanimous decision.
We don't want a mistrial. That was the number one thing.
Lavoie says when the jury first started their deliberations, there was an even split, but that eventually more jurors came to an agreement that Emmanuel Lopes was guilty. However, Lavoie says there was one juror who agreed with the defense's argument that Lopes was having a psychotic episode and was not legally responsible for the murders, and that the juror completely shut down and would not engage in any conversations.
When somebody just doesn't want to participate and doesn't want to show you the information, how they got to a certain conclusion, it was so frustrating.
Your service is complete. I'm declaring a mistrial.
Oh, what
Lavoie
a shock.
says it was
That'd be on a
gut-wrenching
t-shirt.
watching Sergeant Chesna and Vera
Mistrial.
Adams' family react to the news in the courtroom. That uneasiness only continuing once the jury was loaded onto the bus to head home for the final time.
And on that bus ride home, no one said a word. We were all just in our own heads.
Yeah, they know.
And just deflated.
Quoting Turtle Boy Daily News, a judge should never allow someone to disrespect their court like that. If this juror was too emotionally immature to handle a murder case without breaking down, then she should have been replaced. There were 2 more alternates available. Now, let's jump back to the motion to recuse.
The court has unilaterally sought to advance motions that have been advanced by the Commonwealth while still not ruling on motions that we've had before the bench for not just days or weeks, but now months. And it's the disparity in that treatment.
Alan Jackson is calling out the court on her apparent bias in taking months to rule on defense motions, and only ruling from the bench when it benefits the Commonwealth. This would be consistent with the idea that the state aims to bleed Karen Reed dry of funds in order to force a plea. Karen hails from a squarely middle-class family, and they have poured every resource they have into funding her defense because they know she's innocent. Each time worksman Jackson Quinn fly in from California to attend a hearing, the cost falls on Karen. She has assembled a top-notch legal team, including an audio-visual engineer and a 3D graphics expert. But quality defense doesn't come cheap. The Commonwealth is fully aware that every delay in the proceedings drains Karen's financial resources even further. Let us briefly jump ahead a few months in time, where attorney Elizabeth Little eloquently demonstrates the dirty tricks played by the Commonwealth.
Quote, the prosecution shall disclose to the defense and permit the defense to discover, inspect, and copy material and relevant tangible objects at or prior to the pretrial conference. Our first pretrial conference was on August 12, 2022. The compliance date for mandatory defense access to this physical evidence was more than a year ago. So when Mr. Lally stands up, as I believe he probably will, and says, we're almost done testing, the defense can have access to this in 30 days, I want to remind this court that we've been here before. In fact, we argued this exact same issue before the court 6 months ago. On February 8th of this year, Mr. Lally stood here in open court and made these promises. Quote, I did speak with the lab earlier this week.
What's that?
I was making a George W. Bush. No, he stood here, quote, saying no new taxes. Yeah, he's just a liar.
Week, as well as last week, a couple of weeks ago, and on several different occasions. But my expectation from what I'm told is that their analysis and report should be complete within the next 30 to 60 days. Those were Mr. Lally's words in February. And my guess is that's what he's going to say today.
I also love watching Aiden during the hearings.
I know, that's what I usually do too, his reaction.
Is that the crime lab actually keeps track of their communications with Mr. Lally. And when you review the crime lab conversation log, which was produced to us in Discovery about a month ago,
dropping that link.
This is what you see. Quote, note to file, date January 3rd, 2023. Entry by John Buello. Person contacted, ADA Lally. Note, quote, emailed Commonwealth prosecutor on 11/21/2022 about the status of testing. No response back. Therefore, the trace items will not be tested at this time. If for any reason testing is needed, the items can be resubmitted to the lab for potential analysis. Trace assignment closed, no report. And what you also see is that between January 3rd, 2023, which is the date of that entry, and the date.
Gotta love Nate Reed. You gotta love Nate Reed, man. I love his reactions.
Nicest guy. Like, like one of the nicest people I've ever met. Just such a great guy.
February 8th, which is the date that Mr. Lally
Karen's
stood
mom there
in court
too.
and made those representations that he was so desperately trying to expedite testing. There is not a single record of communication between Mr. Lally and the lab that's contained in that conversation.
It's to drain the resources.
That's not Mr. Lally's hands being tied by lab protocols and lab procedures. In fact, the assignment was closed because he failed to answer his emails. That is deception.
This was the exact moment I knew that Lally wasn't simply incompetent. He was complicit.
Just another government stooge.
So when the Commonwealth stands up and says that the defense can have access to the physical evidence in 30 or 60 days, that's not good enough. We need court intervention.
That intervention never came. This judge refused to impose deadlines on the Commonwealth, allowing them to stall for years in providing evidence that normally takes weeks. Now, let's jump back to the motion.
Pause this for a sec.
Yeah,
I think this is the one where Lally comes up and says we need more time because blah blah blah, and she goes, "I want to put you on a deadline." And then, this is now July, but ahead in September, I think that in September she says back to him, she says something along the lines of, "I'm going to put you on a deadline to submit this information." Then she goes, "But let me know if you need more time."
Yeah.
Yeah, that was.
Yeah, I mean, it's just to deplete the resources,
Yeah.
you know, and I think it's perfect timing. Oh, my voice cracked. I think it's perfect timing that this video gets dropped today.
Yeah.
Yeah, I mean, we said this all along, you know.
Yeah.
Oh, look at this. DW. This is cool. DW says, hello from 30,000 feet. Thanks for helping to pass this time in the flight. Hey, have a good flight. Have a good flight. Let's see. Question. If the Commonwealth doesn't call Trooper Paul back, can the defense call them? Yes, but, you know, yeah, I think, yeah, they would. Maybe. Yeah, to show how much of an idiot he is. How much of an expert he's not, and then put him up there against the ARCA guys and forget it. It's done. All right, we'll keep playing here.
Disregard the fact that the court is a very busy court, that the court is a supervising court. The court has a lot of balls in the air. It's the disparity between the court's rulings in terms of the Commonwealth's motions and the defense motions that I think give the public pause, and that's where we need to start our analysis. Number two, the court seems to have deviated from the normal course of procedure. In this case,
Jackson's giving it to her right now.
On the Karen Reed case. And the court only made that known, or at least known to us, to the defense, after the Commonwealth filed a request to gag the defense.
Doesn't care.
The optic is that the court had or has a personal interest in ruling on that particular gag motion, which is on calendar today, and wants to keep control over this case. That move has also prompted the public to raise questions about the court's fairness. Why is that happening? Why is that happening?
She's in her own world.
She doesn't care.
She's in her own world.
She's already made her mind up, Maz. She's already made her mind up in this case. She doesn't care. And another person I want to put out there too, Trooper Proctor. Commonwealth's definitely not calling him back, but I can tell you who's going to. Defense is going to call him back and put him on the stand.
Would like to call Trooper Paul.
Yeah, Trooper Paul and Trooper Proctor will be up there. Believe me. Yeah.
I'd rather be in Cameron drinking White Claws.
And it has eroded public confidence in the system, at least insofar as this case is concerned.
The benefits of rotating judges include promoting fairness and objectivity in the judiciary, as it reduces the risk of entrenched biases or conflicts of interest. The purpose of this practice is to prevent any one judge from developing undue familiarity toward a particular set of individuals. However, this judge decided to ignore the schedule and stay on the Reed case, even though she was to rotate off in July of 2023.
Unreal.
The factors that led to this decision are a mystery, since no explanation was ever given. And as Alan Jackson just stated, it did appear to the public at the time that she extended her stay in order to rule on the Commonwealth's motion to gag the defense team. In fairness, she did ultimately deny that order. But would she have if the defense hadn't called her out?
Number three, the court outright denied Ms. Reed a full and fair opportunity to be heard, if the court recalls the last time we were here on a critical Rule 17 motion.
Regardless of whether or not defense counsel and the Commonwealth agreed to an evidentiary hearing, there's no authority for it. I am not having an evidentiary hearing in this case.
Of course there's authority.
No.
Not in
I am not having
not in her courtroom.
an evidentiary
No.
hearing.
I mean, Gemma Keefe is the most important witness to this case. She was subpoenaed by the defense, and they're going to grill her. She would take the stand, and she would get ripped apart, probably get herself charged with murder herself. He can't let that happen, so he's filing this motion to quash. He wants to prevent that from happening. And they filed these motions 2 days before the hearing. Gemma Keefe was subpoenaed 2 weeks ago. She waited until now when Alan Jackson and Elizabeth Little are in the air, flying in at Karen Reed's expense. And I guess he didn't think that they might bring these guys in. And so you're the one that said we could do this.
So there will not be an evidentiary hearing on Rule 17 motion. I will hear you, even though the Commonwealth says that this is a regurgitation of the first motion.
May 3rd, all parties agreed to an evidentiary hearing and scheduled it for May 25th. The defense orders witnesses to testify, including Jennifer McCabe, Brian Albert, Troopers Proctor, and Guareno. The Commonwealth realizes exactly how treacherous it would be to have these 4 unprepared witnesses testify at such an early stage of the cover-up. On May 23rd, 2 days before the evidentiary hearing, the Commonwealth files motions to prevent it all from happening. An emergency hearing is scheduled for the next day, May 24th. This brings us to the present situation. Judge Cannoni has just informed the defense team that despite prior agreement, the evidentiary hearing will not take place. What makes this especially suspicious is the judge's decision to cancel a scheduled hearing so close to the date, and allowing the Commonwealth to make such disruptive last-minute moves. Adding to the concern is her absolute refusal to discuss the matter with the defense. She is adamant that no evidentiary hearing will take place. For a judge who typically takes everything under advisement, she made a series of unusually swift decisions that likely spared the Commonwealth from disastrous consequences.
I will hear you on the Rule 17 motion now. So, Mr. Jackson, I'll hear you on your Rule 17 motion.
Your Honor, with regard to Rule 17, very clearly, this is not, as the court just indicated, a regurgitation of anything. It's a brand new motion.
Watch closely here, as Alan Jackson is uncharacteristically speechless, stunned by what he's just heard this judge say in open court. Remember, Jackson himself has decades of experience as a prosecutor. Judge Cannoni is kind enough to hear him argue his motion, despite...
Basically, he's thinking here, either this judge is corrupt or she's an absolute bleeping idiot.
Yeah, bleeping idiot. I'm gonna say the same thing.
Most of us would argue for both.
Yeah. Yeah, I mean, his wheel, you can see it. His wheels are spinning, and that's definitely what he's balancing in his head right now.
This is why I always say the judge is the biggest problem. Sorry to interject.
Yeah,
I apologize, Brian, for that.
No.
This is why I always say the judge has been the biggest problem throughout this whole thing, because regardless of whoever was framing someone, covering up something, when it comes time to get inside that courtroom, which is essentially the battlefield for everything that's happened, for Karen to basically have that path to clear her name, once they get in this courtroom, they got to deal with an abundance of this absolute nonsense. And that's why every single time when people hear me say, I go, the judge is the biggest problem. Regardless of whatever happened, the judge is the biggest problem, because she is just not.
She's not playing fair. She's not balancing the trial. She has not balanced the trial. I mean, it's evident, Maz. I mean, you know it. I know it. Everybody in this room knows it. She has not balanced this trial at all. She has not balanced from the bench. She has ruled in favor for the Commonwealth, a billion times over in this case. She's given every freaking opportunity during the trial to lead Lally and say things like, did you want to object, Mr. Lally? I mean, you're leading him. You're leading him. And then she'll get on the defense and say, and yell at Jackson or Yannetti and say, you're leading the witness or you're doing that. I mean, come on. She has not played a balanced trial at all. It's been a disgrace, an absolute disgrace. And here we are again. We're going to go through round 2 and come back to what? The same conclusion. You know, what do you think? You think Commonwealth's going to gear up and get ready this time around? I mean, come on. They have nothing. You have nothing. You've brought nothing to the table. All you've done in this case is literally people that I knew that I said, hey, you know, I'm following, you know, I have a YouTube channel. I've been following the Karen Reed case. I've been, you know, helping her out, helping out the movement. You know, you got to check this out, the trial. They literally would text me, not even knowing anything, and go, oh my God, are these people on trial? Like the Commonwealth's witnesses, are they on trial right now? Yeah. I mean, they literally have not brought anything to the table. And you know, what are we supposed to do? Look out! Here they come, round 2. Look out! I mean, what are you coming with this time? Nothing. Absolutely nothing.
I mean, I just think there needs to be a meme, just to go back on her asking, Mr. Lally, would you like to object? There needs to be a meme that someone creates where basically Auntie Bev's the drive-through window girl at a fast food restaurant, and Lally drives through and she asks him, would you like fries with that? Because that's basically how it feels when she's asking him, would you like to object with that? Yes, I would like fries with that. Thank you so much. I mean, it's just like, it's ridiculous. It's just, it's so pathetic. It's like, it's that cheesy. It's really just that cheesy. It's just like, are you literally, as a judge, asking a prosecutor, oh, would you like to object? Would you like some extra special sauce with that Big Mac? Would you like some barbecue sauce? I mean, are you kidding me? Are you, in what court of law does that happen? And I think for Alan Jackson, I don't know what his experience has been with the Massachusetts court system throughout the course of his tenure as a lawyer. Right. But at this particular point, it's driving right in his head. Well, this thing is a lot more insane than I could have ever possibly fathomed. Eventually, he adapts to it, but in this moment, you can tell.
He defended Kevin Spacey down in.
That's right. Yeah, the Keefe.
And that judge was there.
Yeah.
You know, I played some of that when I did my little Alan Jackson tribute.
That's right.
That judge was fair. He listened. He was open to what the defense had to say. He was balanced with the state of the Commonwealth in that case. It was a balanced trial. It was a balanced judge. And that's what people have to understand. That's what judges are there on the bench to do, to make sure that it is balanced and is fair for both sides. I mean, and that's clearly not what's happening here. All right, let's see what Jackson does to react to this.
Like the Commonwealth's claim that it's simply a regurgitation of one that came previously.
Imagine a judge using the term regurgitation.
What's that?
Imagine a judge actually using the term regurgitation like that. I don't blame him for being one bit insulted about this. And honestly, these hearings back then in 2023 really laid the foundation for why so many of us just could not stand that judge long before the trial ever started, because we just saw all this stuff going down.
Of course.
Alan Jackson. I can only imagine.
And I love this too. And I'm sorry we're pausing this again. And again, if you want to watch this without our commentary, you can. It's on the Microdots YouTube page. And I'm sure one of my moderators can drop that link. But this is what we do during the lives. We commentate. And I totally just lost my train of thought. Oh, no. And then I love when we came back for all the hearings, you know, just the couple of hearings that we had here. What did they do? Oh, we're going to squeeze Karen in a very small room. So all the supporters are not behind her in the courtroom, like you're seeing when we just saw a clip a couple of seconds ago, with that courtroom packed of free Karen Reed supporters and family on Karen Reed's side. They don't want that optic anymore. They don't want it. They want to kill that optic, because they know that there are thousands and thousands of people around the world that support Karen Reed. So what do we need to do? In the eyes of everybody watching through the mainstream media, the people that might not have heard about this, well, Karen Reed's a killer. She killed him. She backed him over. Look, she's in this small courtroom. There's no one there to support her. But let's go back. Let's watch at those pretrial hearings and watch the overwhelming support. The people during that one hearing that you could hear when Karen Reed was walking into that hearing, there were people. You could hear them. You could hear us. I keep saying people. You could hear us cheering outside that courtroom. The judge hates this. The Commonwealth hates this. That's why they put the buffer zone. But guess what? It didn't shut anybody down. And what happened during deliberation? It brought hundreds of more people into that area. And I'm going to tell you right now, Maz, if this goes round 2 and they're trying to do this in the winter because they go, oh, well, we're going to make it so it's cold and they don't stand out there. Guess what? We'll have heaters. We'll have hand warmers. We'll have jackets. and people will pour in from the thousands all over the nation, the world, to come here and support Karen Read. You cannot shut us down. It won't happen. It won't happen, Maz. It won't happen.
Not happening.
All right.
I was thinking about the space heater idea myself as well. I think that's a good idea. That'd be great.
Yeah, I mean, you're gonna put us out in January. We were there in January.
Right,
The first time I ever came out there and went to any one of the pretrial hearings, I was there in January. I bundled up, had a mask on my face, and I was out there, and that was it. From that time on, when I went out there, I was hooked, and I knew that I was gonna, go to completion and help do what I could in this case. All right, let's keep going.
Imagine what he's thinking in this moment.
He's thinking,
regardless, he's not ready to let this go just yet.
I understand and respect the court's ruling. I am confused, and I must say I don't quite understand the court's ruling, given the fact that the Commonwealth has taken such a vigorous position in their affidavit on the facts that are referred in our Rule 17 motion. It seems to me that would be the perfect opportunity, even if it's limited to the experts on the issue of the Google search.
Okay, so I understand, Mr. Jackson, that you wanted an evidentiary hearing. There will not be one.
She absolutely will not allow it to happen under any circumstances.
That's Tanis Giannetti right there.
Feels
sitting
like
next
she
to
did
Janet Reed.
someone a very big favor.
Our question would be, what is the Commonwealth so desperately afraid of?
It's not unusual for record holders to oppose motions for their data. They have their right to privacy. However, the Commonwealth has also joined in opposing those motions. What possible interest could the state of Massachusetts have in keeping Brian, Albert, and Jen McCabe's phone records private? They are witnesses in a murder trial. So why do they care? The state's role should be to seek truth and justice. Withholding records in no way advances that goal. Jackson is skillfully taking this opportunity to question their motives.
Why are they so desperately afraid of us getting the materials, the documents, the data, and the physical phone that we've sought, respectively, under the Rule 17 motion for Brian Albert's phone and the data associated therewith, for Jennifer McCabe's cell phone data as it pertains to the cell records? What are they afraid of? They seem to be desperately fearful that we're actually going to get to the truth of what actually happened.
Now, let's jump back to the motion to recuse.
Yuri and Tully back there looking like Beavis and
Butthead. Kind of can tell you right there.
Yeah.
Sean McCabe, a member of the McCabe family and a brother-in-law of Jennifer McCabe, whom we have argued in this court, should have at least been a suspect.
You're going to show that this way, Ms. Little. Why don't you show it to me? Thank you.
By the way, Judge Beverly Cannoni does not like when the defense shows chalks. We'll jump ahead
No
briefly
charts,
to view
please.
another example.
No charts. No charts, please.
Yeah.
Yeah, here it is. Right, this is it right here. Yeah.
Yeah.
Now, before we resume,
isn't
it insane to go back and watch all these hearings now, knowing what was going to happen during the trial, knowing it was just going to end the way it did, and now it's like now we're repeating the cycle again. It's just absolute madness now. Thinking
it's a ridiculous, tragedy that we're going through this, and I'm sorry to cut you off, but
no, it's okay.
This is the optic that they don't want. This is that's why they stuck Karen Read in that small courtroom to not have the supporters behind her. I'm going to tell you right now, they're going to do the same damn thing when she goes back for pre-trial hearings. We get to that point. She goes back for pre-trial hearings. They will stick her in small courtrooms because they don't want this optic. They don't want to show the support behind her. And again, it's not going to shut any of us down. We're still going to be there. We're still going to be there. Yeah. Did you want to fill in anything before I hit play, Maz?
Nope.
Okay.
Just this no chalks thing. I remember this really set me off at the time. I was really furious when this happened. Actually, I recall.
All right, here we go.
Those to have any evidentiary value, you have to trust the person who had custody of John O'Keefe's clothing before it was sent to the lab.
So, Ms. Little, I'm not looking at any. If you show them to the audience before you show them to me, I'm not going to look at them. Okay. Please
look at Liz looking.
Mr. Yannetti.
You see Liz look at Yannetti and hide behind the poster board.
Yeah,
I want to go back. I'm just going to go back a little bit here. I want to see that again. What is it? JJ? There we go.
JJ.
And of course, I get the spinning wheel of death now.
Oh, I know. That's always the worst. That's always YouTube always screws you over like that every single time.
I want to go back.
If you hit it one more time, I might.
Yeah.
No chalks, please. No chalks.
Yeah. Oh, yeah.
Auntie Bev's court of law.
Spinny. So, I felt like hanging out today and watching a wheel. Why not?
Yeah,
And
Olivia Nile, that's an original gangsta in the chat right there. She goes, she's awesome.
Yes, absolutely. Yes. Oh my God. And the minute I unshare it and pop it back up, it'll start again. I know it does.
Yeah, exactly.
Whom we have argued in this court.
I want to watch this again.
Should have at least been a suspect or a
You're going to show that this way.
Pee break.
Why don't you show it to me? Thank you.
By the way, Judge Beverly Cannoni does
like
not
that
like
Sean
when the
McCabe
defense
thing.
shows chalks.
Yeah.
We'll jump ahead briefly to view another example.
Please pass the pepper.
For those
$2.
without
Thank
any
you.
evidentiary value,
Bev is the definition
you
of
have to
insanity.
trust the
Thank you for
person
$2.
who
Watch
had custody
Liz.
of John O'Keefe's clothing before it was sent to the lab.
So, Ms. Little,
Watch,
I'm not looking at any. If you show them to the audience before you show them to me, I'm not going to look at them.
Right here.
Okay. Please put that down.
She looks at Nettie like,
Mr.
what
Yannetti,
the fuck?
Do you have chalks for your bail argument? Please put that down.
Oh,
Do
yes,
you
I'll
have
put it down
chalks for your
immediately.
bail argument?
I have one chalk that I was intending to show the court at the
So
appropriate time.
I don't need
Look at
to
Nathan.
see a chalk, Mr. Yannetti.
And now back to the motion to recuse.
Sean McCabe made a claim to a reporter in public, claiming to have a personal relationship with this court. And he tried to prove it by citing to the fact that
The
Sean
origin of
McCabe
Auntie
knows
Bev.
personal information about the judge, which is extremely troubling, about a beach home, not just the fact that the court may own one, but exactly where it is. His words were, after receiving Sean McCabe's words were, after receiving a question from the reporter, do you really have a line to Judge Cannoni? His answer was, Auntie Bev? And I mean no disrespect, I'm quoting. Auntie Bev?
Fucking Jackson just sticks it in there. Go Jackson!
Auntie Bev, the origin story. There it is. Sean McCabe.
And he
Classic
keeps
moment.
repeating it. He's Auntie Bev, Auntie Bev.
Man, amazing moment. One of the best nicknames in all of this.
Oh, it's so good.
Oh, man.
Let's oh gosh.
Yeah.
What'd I do? Come on, spinning
Might need
wheel.
to incorporate.
And is that Buchanan in the background too? He's right there, isn't he? Just up over the tan guy's
No, that's the other guy there. I forget his name now, but that's another guy that they had.
my God. I'm sorry,
disappeared.
everybody.
Yeah.
The spinning wheel of death here.
Spinning wheel of death. Gotta love
Come
that.
on. Yeah, that's great. He
Auntie
just
Bev.
keeps hammering it home too.
Yeah. Is that a chalk, Mr. Yannetti? Is that a chalk that you
Canning,
brought
yeah,
to
yeah.
my court?
Canning.
It's the way she acts about it. Who did you just bring a chalk to the courtroom of Auntie Bev?
Auntie Bev? And he just starts hammering. Come on.
Jeez. It's like, would you calm down, Auntie Bev? If you don't want us to have the chalks, we'll put the thing down. But my goodness, calm down. Jeez.
I'm sorry, everybody. This should kick in here in a second.
Nobody.
Thanks for being. Hey, this is a good time to smash the like button if you haven't done that. Let's try to get to 1,000 likes. Oh, Maz, come on.
Yeah.
Oh, by the way,
nobody
Maz,
brings a chalk inside my like Ben Stiller in Dodgeball. Nobody makes me bleed my own blood.
Oh yeah, nobody
Nobody.
makes me bleed my own blood. Nobody.
Nobody
Check your
brings
text, by
chalks
the
in
way.
this courtroom. Nobody.
I know. Spinning wheel. Check your text, by the way.
Yeah.
Oh, come on, buddy. Oh my God, this is the minute I go to stop sharing this, I know it's gonna pop up. All right, let me. Got it. All right. Oh, of course. I knew that was gonna happen. Yeah. Let's see. Okay, sorry, everybody. Here we go. Bada bing, bada boom.
Own one, but exactly where it is. His words were, after receiving Sean McCabe's words were, after receiving a question from the reporter, do you really have a line to Judge Cannoni? His answer was, Auntie Bev? And I mean no disrespect, I'm quoting.
No disrespect, Your Honor.
Seaside cottage, you think we're going to bury your corpse under.
Where he said, I just called in an order asking Judge Bev to institute a trial by combat order against you. It is weird that this guy is just throwing around a name like that days after a hearing that was very favorable to his sister-in-law, that prevented her from taking the stand and answering why she Googled this at 2:27 a.m. She never had to do that. And that's odd that this guy is all of a sudden acting like she's on Team McCabe. That's interesting. And I go, do you really have a line to her? And he goes, Auntie Bev, whose seaside cottage do you think we're going to bury your corpse under? And indeed, she does have a house in Centerville, in part of Barnstable. So that's interesting. How does he know that?
Extremely troublesome dialogue, but it's not just the threat that's inherent in the dialogue. That's on one level.
Oh, they get tons of chalk.
It's the fact that this person claimed to know that this court may own a beachside cottage somewhere. Your Honor, I will say I've appeared before hundreds. At this point, I'm getting old. I may have appeared before thousands of judges in my nearly 30-year career. I've never, ever known where a single one of them has ever lived or property they may or may not have owned. But Sean McCabe appears to know, and he appears to intimate that he knows the details of this court's personal life. And it was his family.
You see a comment from Olivia about the seaside cottage?
No, let me go up.
Take a look at that. It's about 10 comments.
Auntie Bev's seaside cottage is less than a mile away from the McCabe's. Wow. 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 And here I go again. You know, here I go again on my own. We were singing that one time, weren't we?
I think we did. Yeah. Like a
You
grifter,
know, here
I
I
was
go
born
again.
to walk alone. Yeah.
Yeah, I look at the people that literally message me. I have one person that has started to message me again. They're so mad about that I cover this. They're literally obsessed with me and my coverage, and they send me these long paragraphs. And by the way, I haven't blocked you. You've blocked yourself, by the way, because I tried responding to you today and I couldn't respond. So I know you're watching, but they send me these long messages, right? And I sit here and say, you know, if you did a little digging around and look behind the scenes like we do, you'd probably start filling some blanks in there. I mean, here's one for you. We got on the screen right now. Auntie Bev's seaside cottage, less than a mile away from the McCabe's. I mean, can you answer to that? And they call me crazy. You don't think that she's not in the pocket of what's going on here? You know? Anyway, let's keep going on.
Yeah. Cancellation of the evidentiary hearing, and it was his family that benefited from the court's quashal of our subpoenas. That claim by a McCabe family member of a personal connection to this court has been the fodder, Your Honor, of myriad public comments and questions about this court's ability to maintain fairness over this particular proceeding. And if that weren't enough, the defense has just recently received information that another witness, a seminal witness for the prosecution, by the name of Julie Nagel, who was in Julie Nagel, Nagel.
Nagel.
Who was inside the house at 34 Fairview on the night of John O'Keefe's death.
Like something out of the ordinary, like a black blob in the ground by the flagpole.
Apparently, some 5 months after John's murder, and this is all public. We didn't have to do any digging and searching with subpoenas or otherwise. This was all public information. She used a Venmo app to pay for what appears to be a beach house rental, and the recipient on the Venmo payment reads Frank and Beverly. That is a public payment. It was there for all the world to see. And as soon as a reporter picked up on that, which is how we found out about it, and publicized that, she immediately took that payment down and took it off the internet.
Wow.
Your Honor, there has been an undeniable erosion of public confidence in this court's ability to be fair. But let me be very, very clear. The decision to recuse or disqualify a court due to the appearance of impartiality is not an indictment of this court's competence or integrity. It is not an indictment of this court's character. Nowhere close, and we do not aver that at all. Rather, the decision should be an expression of the unwavering commitment that this court has to justice, to fairness, to the rule of law.
I personally have do not, nor have I ever had any questions, even a moment of pause in regard to this court's ability to be fair and impartial on this or any other case.
You wouldn't expect the person directly benefiting from unfairness to take issue with it being perpetuated inside this courtroom. Let's see what other valuable insights the Assistant District Attorney has to offer.
Whether the court, Your Honor, chooses to retain jurisdiction in this case, or passes to another judge to retain jurisdiction in this case, or passes from judge to judge as the judges rotate in and out of the session, really is of no consequence to the Commonwealth.
If it really is of no consequence to the Commonwealth, then why is Lally about to fervently argue against the defense's motion? He could have rested and said nothing at all. This is because he knows what's obvious to everyone paying attention, and that is the judge had been extremely favorable to the Commonwealth up until this point, and would continue to rule progressively more in their favor all the way through the first trial to this present day.
But what I would say is that, again, that operative term being principle, and the three sort of key things the council seems to want to hang their hat on, is essentially first being some conversation between two individuals who have literally nothing to do with this case, who talk about this case in an online discussion. And there's a great many things that are said in that online discussion, but we seem to be focusing on just this one thing and accepting this is true.
Funny how he says that, you know, these people talking about it's no big deal, but the minute like Turtle Boy does reporting, you know, they come after him, you know. Oh, you know, this is someone that's talking about a case. He's vile. He's saying all this stuff. You know, he's putting all this stuff out there. I find that funny. He's dismissing these conversations, the Venmo transaction, but we have Turtle Boy talking about this, or let's just say any of us all talking about this. You know, it's the hate and the abuse and everybody coming after us. But clearly here, I mean, they're talking about, you know, where are they going to bury a dead corpse? You know, it's just it's unbelievable.
I think Lally needs his own entrance song when he approaches. Lunchbox lady, here he comes. Something like a South Parkish kind of song, or something like an Adam Sandler type song. They just like mock him. Down in Lunchbox land, like in Lunch Lady Land. Yeah.
Sloppy Joes.
Yeah.
Good old Sloppy Joes. Nick Rocco joining the chat again. Good.
Whereas there are a great number of other sort of defamatory things that are said by this person in reference to this blogger.
Nick, come join us.
We're not jumping to the conclusion that any of those things.
Let us know what
I don't know whether they are or they aren't, but I'm saying that we're focusing on this one particular thing.
Let's be clear. The credibility of Sean McCabe's insults against the reporter are immaterial to whether or not there's an appearance of impartiality in this case. Once again, ADA Lally attempts to bring the focus back onto Turtle Boy.
From that attachment,
I haven't even watched this, and look, Maz, I haven't even watched it. I knew they were going to go there. Look at this.
Filed as part of that conversation, which is appeared to be a true and accurate copy of that conversation, but it's not appeared to be a complete transaction of that conversation.
Lally complains that the messages sent between Sean McCabe and Turtle Boy are not the complete record of the entire conversation. This coming from the same prosecutor who presented this screenshot allegedly showing Colin Albert's message to Ali McCabe requesting she pick him up from 34 Fairview Road, widely believed to be counterfeit, if not incomplete. And then there's this utter abortion of justice. But we'll save that for another time.
But from what's attached, I direct the court's attention to page 6, in which Mr. McCabe intimates in there that he doesn't really know anything about the case.
Lally continues to miss the point. If the McCabe family did indeed have an inappropriate relationship with the judge, how would Sean McCabe's level of knowledge of the case make a difference? It's completely irrelevant.
Okay.
Additionally, I would direct the court's attention to page 9. Well, I think it's pretty clear from there that the recipient of these communications, this blogger, doesn't even believe Mr. McCabe himself in his vehementness that he knows the court or is familiar with the court or has any influence over the court.
Whether Turtle Boy himself personally believes Sean McCabe's statements or not does not affect the greater public's perception of impartiality.
And lastly, from that attachment, I direct the court's attention to page 11, in which it references earlier posts by this blogger about the judge. And that's, again...
Lally uses this opportunity to inform the judge that she herself has been the subject of Turtle Boy's reporting, in case she wasn't aware.
I think we're looking at this divorced from the context in which this communication arises. This is not something that Mr. McCabe just generates out of his own head, as far as along with a litany of other assertions that he makes in reference to this blogger. But it comes from prior posts and prior communications that were expressed by this blogger of already intimating impartiality. Just in reference to adverse rulings, which brings me to my second sort of underpinning of this motion, being that the court has, I guess, adversely ruled or denied motions that were filed by the defendant. I don't really see that as being any sort of valid basis for judges to recuse themselves. Otherwise, every time a judge denies a motion, then we're going to have to find a different judge because they don't agree with you. And in particular, they're pointing to a motion which had absolutely no basis in the rules of criminal procedure whatsoever, as far as having an evidentiary hearing on Rule 17 motion. And the third thing, as far as deviation from procedure of the Norfolk Superior Court.
Look at the size of this courtroom.
It's
and look
huge.
at all the space there. They couldn't restructure this place so all 12 jurors could see the people that are on the stand. I mean, they haven't, nobody in all these years that this courthouse has been built since the 1800s, nobody like in the last 40 years has said, hey, why don't we just like renovate this thing? I mean, obviously, I probably don't have the time with all the cases and the backlog of cases, but at the same time, this thing could be easily renovated and restructured to put people in the right position so all 12 jurors can actually see the person that's on the stand. Just wanted to get that out there.
No, I agree, but I already know the argument. It's historic.
Right.
Historic monument.
Right. Exactly. Well, it's historic, so
it's probably some of the oldest courts in the in the nation. So they're like, oh, it's historic. We can't
they treat it like it's Fenway Park. Yeah.
Right.
Yeah.
There are a number of cases that different judges might hold on to for a period of time. They might assign themselves to or be assigned to retain jurisdiction. And the court, hearing this motion or any other motions in this case going forward, regardless of whatever section Your Honor is assigned to, it's really of no consequence, and it's really not anything that's out of the ordinary, as evidenced by the case that was called prior to this case, which is a trial that was conducted before Your Honor last November of a co-defendant. There's a scheduled trial date coming up in this November of a co-defendant from that prior trial. It's not an abnormal thing for this court.
Good point, Kelly.
For those reasons, again, I would pray upon the court as far as the decision is concerned, but as far as the Commonwealth is concerned, there's no request for the court to accuse themselves. And whatever judge hears the case is whatever judge hears the case. Thank you.
Do you want to respond, Mr. Jackson?
Very, very briefly. The only thing I would draw both the Commonwealth and the court's attention to is the person that made the statement, Sean McCabe, is related to Jennifer McCabe. He's a brother. He also didn't just throw sort of a dart at an empty dartboard. He hit the target because he made a claim that he had a personal relationship with this court, or at least his family had a personal relationship with this court. And that turned out to be at least some of the facts that he made, or that he claimed in the post, turned out to be true. And we attached that. I'm going to be delicate about my comments here because it's sealed.
I didn't do it. Microdots did.
Portion are impounded. But it turns out that it's true, and the courts had access to an opportunity to see that. Also, with regards to the second post, it's also true in terms of the family members' names. It's not like they're just the family members' names. Okay. This court's family members' names, which I don't need to repeat here. But there is some fact-based information that troubled us because it turns out to be somewhat true. Now, the last thing that I'll say is that the Commonwealth's position was it may not be true. There's a bunch of invectives in that string of communications between the investigative reporter and Sean McCabe, and half that stuff may be true.
Jackson is about to advance the most important point of the entire hearing.
And Mr. Lally's words were, I don't know if they're true. And that's the point. He doesn't know if they're true. I don't know if they're true. I hope they're not true. I desperately hope that what Sean McCabe said is not true, but it doesn't matter what I think. It only matters what the public perceives might be the case. And the word might is in the rule. It doesn't have to be the case. But a reasonable person looking at this from the outside looking in, if they're disinterested, might they think that the court has some relationship that would compromise the court's ability to be fair. That's enough, and at that point, it triggers this court's requirement to disqualify itself. That's all. We're not suggesting the court is not fair, nor impartial. Nor partial. We're suggesting the public may perceive it that way, and they reasonably have perceived it that way. And I'll see that.
Okay. 2:35. I'm going to take a 20-minute break to consider what I've heard here today.
Right.
Obviously,
I'm going to take a shit.
Let's take you. All right.
While Judge Cannoni is taking 15 minutes to deliberate on the recusal, Let us take
She
a
ain't
moment to
deliberating.
assess whether
I'm
there was
eating a ham
substantive
sandwich.
evidence indicating that the public perception of this case was genuinely declining. This was happening right outside on the steps.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, I remember this.
There's Jim. Jim.
You are unmuted.
You show of hands. All right, we'll do this. we'll have some fun here with the chat. Give me a 1 if you think that she went back and actually thought and deliberated this. Give me a 2 if you thought that she went back and just ate a ham sandwich. I'd love to see what you all think here in the chat. Load that chat up. Let's see. Go ahead, Maz. Maz is saying 2.
So I appreciate the arguments of counsel. I've considered those arguments. I've considered the pleadings, the motion, the attached affidavits,
No, you didn't.
the big pack of attachments to the motions. I've considered those placards that were shown here today.
No, you didn't.
A couple of them I hadn't seen before. So the defendant raises 4 discussion points in their motion. There's some claim delay in my rendering decisions. There's dissatisfaction with adverse rulings and alleged impropriety of retaining jurisdiction. But notably, there's some allegation that I have some relationship with a man named Sean McCabe, and that therefore I have a connection to this case, and therefore I have a bias in favor of the Commonwealth.
Straw manning refers to a type of argumentative tactic where someone misrepresents or oversimplifies their opponent's position to make it easier to refute. Alan Jackson went to great lengths to make it clear that his concern was the perception of partiality by a disinterested public. But it's much easier for Judge Cannoni to pretend she's been accused of being biased herself and then deny it.
That simply is not the truth. I can assure all parties that I don't know Sean McCabe. As far as I know, I have never spoken to him or had any contact with him.
She said she doesn't know them. No.
I've never interacted with him, and I certainly never have socialized with him or with any family members or any witnesses whose names have been said here.
That may be true, but what about Michael Morrissey? Besides Karen Reed, he may have the most riding on the outcome of this case. Him and this judge are around the same age. Both grew up in Quincy and have both been working within the Massachusetts legal system for decades. We know that the judge's mother was employed by Morrissey's wife for years back in the 1990s. How well they know each other and when they last communicated remains as lingering questions, yet to be answered. But how could that possibly work? Well, he would need a judge in his corner, someone willing to stay on the case instead of rotating off, a judge who wouldn't raise an eyebrow when tampered evidence appeared on the screen, wouldn't question which trooper was assigned to manage the jury, or ask how the 3 most pro-Karen jurors were suddenly eliminated at the last minute. Not in on the cover-up, just willing to look the other way. What is your perception of this court? Please let us know in the comments.
Oh, that was beautiful.
Trooper Proctor has a sister who has a friend who has a sister who has a husband who has a brother who has a wife who has a sister who is Jennifer McCabe.
Close friends.
That same Apple Health data has, among other things, Mr. Keefe taking 46 steps and traveling a certain bit of distance. It's around 11:56 a.m. on January 29th. The problem with that is that he was pronounced deceased at the Good Samaritan Medical Center at 7:50 a.m., some 4 hours prior.
Of the arraignment. Westworld. So good.
If he comes into the house and he attacked by the dog. I'm just a little confused as far as are they in the conspiracy? Or are these people sort of let out of the conspiracy because they say something that doesn't further that conspiracy?
He's fucked.
Where's your brother, Kevin?
I didn't do anything wrong in this.
If they're all in the house, and Mr. Keefe comes in the house and gets attacked by a dog and then gets dragged out to the bottom of the lawn and left there for dead, then why do they all testify that no one came into the house?
Peace of the world.
We'd like to ask you some questions. As governor, I am disgusted.
Yeah, sure you are.
I'm not on the lawn, I'm on the street.
How long did I hold? CUNT.
Declaring mistrial.
And here he's at the Home Depot.
Excellent. Little court TV stuff there. I want to go back and drop the link for that video, just if anybody wants to go back and watch it without our commentary. Oh, here we go. Wow, that was really good.
Yeah.
What do you think, Maz?
A great video by him. It just shows you all the, the shadiness of the judge, and you see a lot of the materials that were used were basically during those hearings in 2023, which is very telling. And it's just a judge that I've never trusted her, especially going back the last summer. When I saw a lot of those hearings, it's just she gives me no reason to have any faith in her whatsoever as an impartial judge. And Microdot's did a great job just basically picking her right apart. And
I like.
her for,
go ahead. I'm sorry.
Exposing her for basically the shady judge that she's been.
I like the fact that at the end, how just that little kind of 4-minute montage at the end, how he had everybody up there speaking, saying that this needs to stop, this needs to end. You had Maura Healey up there, you had Levy. Nothing has gotten done. They all come out and say, oh, this needs to change and we need to fix the corruption. And, we're actively investigating. The FBI is involved. Nothing has happened. So I think a lot of people get up, they do this camera time. They just want to get the statements and the things out there to calm the public perception. Right. And nothing is being done. I heard a rumor. I don't know if this is confirmed. And maybe you heard this and maybe you can confirm it. Did Ted Daniel report that the FBI investigation has wrapped up?
I don't recall saying that. If that's something that came out today, I must have missed it, but I don't recall him saying that.
Yeah, I think someone was trying to leave a misleading comment on.
I think there once was a report that they maybe were close to wrapping it up, but I don't think they had, wrapped it up. Yeah.
Well, Maz, I think we had another good one. This was a good one. And, something that obviously needed to be talked about. There was a lot of lives today. I think everybody did a great job. I popped in and watched some of them. And listen, we're not going anywhere. Like the movement is going to always continue to grow. Turtle Boy is going to keep peeling the onion layers back and exposing more. We're going to do our part in the information that we get and put out there as well. And, opine over all of these things and just kind of mill it through. And, again, they're not going to shut this movement down. It's only going to continue to grow. And, like I said, I'm in for the long haul here. Yep. So.
Absolutely. No question about that. We're not quitting. We're staying in the fight here and the battle here as long as we have to. And that's all needs to be said about that.
I agree. John, thank you so much for the 5 gifted memberships. I want to do this before we shut the live down. There's a link that is at the top of the chat. If you can go to that link and just make a donation of $7.60, that will commemorate Karen Reed's father's birthday today. And you can go over and say, happy birthday, Will, on that post. And even if you want to just throw, hey, LTL sent me here, or happy birthday via LTL Media, I'd love to get a total there and see if we generated some money off the stream. I know earlier today, Kelly Reed had this in her chat and was dropping in all the free, the free Karen Reed groups. And within a few hours, they raised $5,000. And I think that's fantastic for Karen Reed's Defense Fund. But we'll keep this rolling. And I appreciate everybody being here. If you're new over here, make sure to like, share, and subscribe. We do this live, so we always pause, we commentate, we interact with the chat. And without all of you, this channel would not be in the position that it is. I would not be able to get this message out loud and clear to the world. You all make the difference in this channel, in all of these creators that you go and support as well. And most importantly, supporting Karen Reed. That is the most important thing in all of this. It doesn't matter about me. It doesn't matter about Maz. It doesn't matter about the most important person in all of this is Karen Reed, and that we continue to fight for her freedom, and we will continue to fight until she walks out of that courtroom a free woman and can go on with her life. Maz, anything you want to fill in before we go?
Not much I have to say here. We're just going to keep doing what we got to do, which includes the Labor Day standouts, which are coming up, of course, on Labor Day. Go to freekarenreadstandouts.com to take a look at that list. It's going to be a very big day, and we're all going to get out there and just hit up your local one. If you still want to have your own standout at a nearby location, don't hesitate to go to the website, freekarenreadstandouts.com, and just submit a message to the admins to notify them that you want to have one in a nearby area of yours. You can do one over a highway bridge. If you don't have a highway bridge nearby, you can always do it in a town center. Hold it in a town center. So that's all there for you. So whatever you guys want to do, if you want to go to one that's already been established, or you want to have one for your own town or own city, state, country, go right ahead and do that. There's going to be a couple probably in Australia and across the country as well. I think South Carolina as well. So it's going to be a big day. It's going to be a big day to send a big message. So let's get out there and have a great day next Monday. And
look at this.
Yeah.
Look at this. 13,000. 13,000. Yes. So all those $7.60 donations, 13,000. Look at that. Awesome. Also, I want to do this as well. I want to let everybody know on Friday, my Friday show, probably Friday night, I'm going to have Paul Christoporo on and Dina. They will talk about what Maz just talked about, the standouts over this from Memorial Day. And if anybody is interested, and I'm actually going to have some more hats soon to do some special giveaways and contests with that. But I'm wearing a BOMA hat, and you can check them out on Etsy. And BOMA stands for Boston, Massachusetts. They've been making these really cool Free Karen Reed hats. And I have a couple of more coming that I'll do some giveaways, or maybe we can try to auction them off to raise some money. We'll get creative with it and, continue to help fighting for Karen. So I am Brian. This is Let's Talk Live. That is Mazza Media. Please go over and find him on YouTube at Mazza Media. I love doing that. Mazza Media. And you can also follow him on Twitter. He is the man. He is the mouth, and has that that great radio voice, and I always enjoy my time with you, Maz. I got to get you back in the studio here soon when you have some time. Come hang out, and we'll do this again. But thank you so much. Everybody, have a phenomenal night. Thank you for watching this live. Make sure to smash the like button on the way out, and we'll see y'all soon. I'm gonna hit the outro. Bye, everybody. Have a good night.